Yes, we are back here on WLTH 1370 AM. Everybody, I am Scott Cannon here at 7:33 p.m. flying solo because my main man, Reverend Delwyn Campbell, he stood me up. What's going on, brother? He didn't call in today, but that's okay. He'll be back next week. Right now, we're talking about the long legacy of our former mayor here in the city of Gary, Indiana, but a worldwide and international figure, Richard Gordon Hatcher. And we've got another caller on the line who's been a really good, patient person who's waited online for a while now. So, hello, caller.
Hey, a great show, people, you know.
What's up, brother?
You got it. In fact, I'm going to borrow the story. I'll give you a footnote on about the shot. In regards to that, I'll get you. I was enjoying the show. I didn't have any intention to call in, but a few callers said something that was very interesting. In regards whether or not Mr. Hackett was a puppet now, and I forget the details of it, but the political establishment did off deal if they would let them make sleep in the school they're supposed to not get it now. But they ultimately control certain officers in the city that they would support. So he said no.
Right.
You can see the economic embargo, the domestic embargo is put on Gary, Maryville, somewhat similar to the almost like a domestic Cuba.
Yeah.
So that proves he was not. But the argument is interesting. And I'm not going to say, but I'm still on topic. In terms of it comes to Darwinism versus Booker T versus Dubois White in terms of African Americans, how we seek to get some sort of freedom and justice and equality in America. Now, I just don't think this. I think you have to deal with the reality in terms of what you can deal with the system you have. That don't mean you don't do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just means that you have to utilize, the justice system you can, politics you can, utilize economics you can, and utilize all these things for a path to freedom. And it is something you said of people being a product of their times and environment. But I will say this. He maximized the resources he was given, and he maximized the potential time to really benefit the people in care.
Right.
And all Americans from a different time, different era, and I think they all force upon each other's success, sometimes inherit certain things from the private. So I don't think it's I don't know if it's right to compare marriage per se to different eras, different times,
Mm-hmm.
And certainly, I think in his time, his era, he certainly maximized maximized the resources that he had, and the benefit of people. And so, like I say, great. So I said it's called it. I like to get perspective, and to be honest, and I asked this question personally, whether or not Peggy's a fan actor, an activist, and I can't remember the exact answer, but it's pretty much he said he was all,
Mm-hmm.
you can't like put him in a one box, but and I think above all else, he really serves people well. Once again, great show, and in fact, I was doing we were shot, but kind of really short, so I gotta get shot in the rib, but really enjoying the show and information. Thanks a lot, Scott. Keep it good work.
It's all good, brother. Thank you for calling. Calling in anytime.
All
All right, now. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hello, caller. Yes, what's going on?
Yes, I just wanted to say this, and I caught it late. What you all were talking about. There's a major legacy.
Mm-hmm.
We ought to be proud of Mayor Hatcher,
Right.
and proud of the legacy of the people that he impacted. Of course, everybody makes bad decisions, but everybody makes good decisions also.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a mix. So we should be proud, but I want us not to linger so much in the past, but look to the future.
Yes.
And challenge ourselves to don't denigrate and put folks down, okay, that tried. And that's the big thing. I look at one of my last sermons and said, do something. We got so many people talking, but doing nothing. So do what you can in your place and in your space.
Yes.
But the mayor has a great legacy. There's people, undisclosed number of people that were impacted all over the world because what he did here in Gary.
Right.
And everything that happened, you look at the total picture, that there were people that definitely wanted him to lose, and some of those people didn't always look like other people. They look like us also. So there's a lot to be proud of in this city, but we got to do something. Don't look so much in the past to say we got to do something now. Because I hope to live a long time.
Right.
I hope to live for a few more years. So
Right.
we got to do something right now. We got to challenge ourselves, but also we got to go out there and talk to young people, start raising families that they adhere to a whole code of ethics in the whole city that's going to help each other. We got to go about doing that and not talking about what he did, she did, but saying, what am I going to do to impact my place and my state?
Right.
And I hope to catch you next week. I hope you hold on to this subject to challenge people to say, let's do something.
Right.
And stop talking about what then, if I could have, would have, should have, but saying, I'm going to do something.
Right.
And who wants to do it with me? Okay?
Absolutely. All right. Thank you for calling, brother. I'm actually glad he said that. It's funny because, Hatcher Day was Monday. It replaces Columbus Day, Christopher Columbus, who was a mass murdering, raping, child sex trafficker. Like, if you go into the history of all the horrific things that Christopher Columbus and his ilk were doing in the Caribbean, in places like that, it makes sense to replace his day not only with the celebration of indigenous people, which I celebrate, God bless them, for 500 years. They have been almost genocided to the point of extinction in much of the Western Hemisphere, started by people like Columbus, and obviously a great man like Richard Gordon Hatcher. I absolutely agree with this last caller where he talks about we do look back a lot. I do say that on a day like Hatcher Day, the first inaugural Hatcher Day, this is the first annual Hatcher Day we've ever had. It's important to look back. I agree. I don't like to do shows like this all the time where, oh, well, let's talk about what Hatcher did that was so great, or what this person did that was so great, and all the time. I agree. I do like to look forward. Me and the Rev both. Reverend Campbell is about looking forward most of the time as well. But it is important on a day like I said, a week like this, should I say, where we have the inaugural Hatcher Day. It's important to celebrate the first African American mayor of not only this city, but him and Carl Stokes were the first Black elected mayors in a U.S. city over 100,000 people. To talk about his legacy and all the important work that he did, he also served as the vice chairman of the Democratic National Committee in the early 80s. A lot of people forget that. Hatcher was a national and international figure. He wasn't just our mayor. And that's why it's important to celebrate. It's like Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson is not just Michael Jackson, little Michael Jackson from 2300 Jackson Street. He's the most important and sort of famous entertainer the world's ever produced. And he came from right here in the city of Gary. And Hatcher, in a very similar way, went beyond. He went from practicing law in East Chicago to serving as a deputy prosecutor for Lake County until he was elected to the city council here in Gary in 1963. He was the first and only freshman ever elected president of the city council in Gary's history at that time. He launched the primary challenge against the mayor at that point, Martin Katz, and won by just 2,300 votes. In in the video we talked about, in the video, not me, we didn't talk about, but Reagan Hatcher, his daughter, who was in here on Monday, who was in here with me on Monday, and Miss McCready, talking to Miss McCready, talked about how the Democratic establishment actually went and supported Hatcher's Republican opponent, actually supported his opponent. And we've seen that. And it's not just happened to Richard Hatcher as well. It's a big part of one of the reasons why I left the Democratic Party from a national perspective as well. Because we saw what happened with Bernie Sanders in 2016, where you had people saying, I will vote for Trump. People like Donnie Deutsch and other media corporate liberals saying, on one hand, they said Donald Trump is Hitler. Donald Trump is the worst human being in the history of the world. But Bernie Sanders even worse. You know, one of the reasons that Chris Matthews had to step down last year was not just because of the sexual harassment stuff, but because he compared Bernie Sanders supporters to brown shirts. And we see that anytime the progressive wing, whether it's white progressive, black progressives, Hispanic progressive, anybody who just doesn't say, hey, I'm going to play ball with the corporate status quo powers that be, the Democratic establishment is not above saying, I will support a Republican over you. Okay, so even now that still happens on some level. The Lake County Democratic Party Central Organization, led by Chairman John Krupa, demanded that the future Mayor Hatcher at this point allow them to select the police chief and city attorney, among other important city administrative offices, in exchange for their support for the general election. When Hatcher refused, they directed the machine to work in favor of Joseph Radican, who was the Republican. Wow. Like I said, wow, some things never change. Anybody who wants any legitimate change in our society will face bigger opposition from the people who claim to be on the same side as them. We see this. We saw this. We're still seeing it. To this day. During his tenure, he became internationally known as a fervent, prolific civil rights spokesman. He was known for developing innovative approaches to urban problems and for being a national and international spokesman for civil rights, minorities, the poor, and America's cities. He often delivered speeches alongside MLK, RFK, Jesse Jackson, and other proponents of civil rights. LBJ, he addressed LBJ on the day after Martin Luther King was assassinated. One of our callers talked about that. Another one of his legacies. Now, we're definitely going to look back at this. This is something we definitely have to look back at in the future. The 1972 National Black Political Convention, where you saw people like Muhammad Ali, James Brown, Shirley Chisholm, Coretta Scott King, Amiri Baraka. You saw all the most important African American, black, whatever you want to call us, thinkers, power brokers at that time, submerged on the city of Gary, Indiana, at West Side Auditorium to try to figure out essentially how to proceed in what was at that point considered the civil rights struggle. Now, I know a lot of people look at the topic of reparations as if it's something new or if it's a newer demand. I've heard people say that people like Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore and Tariq Nasheed and other people who are online thinkers have been astroturfed by right-wingers to sort of push black people to push for reparations. But let me just tell you, reparations is something that people have been talking about for a very long time. They were talking about it at the 1972 Black Political Convention, folks, here in the city of Gary, Indiana. So no, it's a new topic whatsoever. Black people have been talking about reparations for many years. Many, many years. What we have seen is in the fallout of a all-out disappointment, somebody like Barack Hussein Obama, who came out himself against reparations and told us as black people that we didn't need reparations because we had him. When a lot of us who were disappointed by that and began to thankfully see the limitations of identity politics, these sort of representational politics. They tried it again with Kamala Harris, but it didn't work because Kamala Harris is married to a white man. And she is not, her family, none of them are American, okay? Like her father was Jamaican, her mother is from India. His father, if you look at, I believe in one of the censuses that they took from her family, her father's family didn't even consider themselves black, which was a trip to me. And so Kamala Harris, on top of all that, was a prosecutor who, when she was running against Terrence Hallinan in the 90s in San Francisco, actually argued that he wasn't tough enough on crime. He wasn't locking up enough black folks. And if you look at her time as the DA in San Francisco or as the Attorney General in California, she is a woman who spent a lot of her time locking up lots of black people. Okay, that's representational politics. That's the failure right there. You see that in Lori Lightfoot over there in Chicago herself, who is a clown mayor. A clown mayor, okay? I remember it was one of our callers used to call in a lot, Melvin McGee, who used to call in a lot, who first, I tried to give Lori Lightfoot a chance, okay? I said, let's give her a chance. He knew she was going to be a clown from day one. And so I have to respect that. I have to agree with that. She is a clown. And so is Kamala Harris as the vice president. These sort of identity politicians, representative politicians. You see it in San Francisco with London Breed, their mayor, who just got caught dancing and partying without her mask, while at the same time forcing everyone else to stay masked up and basically live under the tyranny of COVID restrictions while she's not following them herself, and while the city of San Francisco is falling apart. Okay, so we've seen these sort of representational politics. They replace people like Richard Gordon Hatcher with people like Lori Lightfoot, like Barack Obama, like Kamala Harris, like London Breed, all these clown black liberals who are not fundamentally representative of their people. That caller called earlier said that Hatcher's legacy is that he was incorruptible. He was for his people. Obama was for Wall Street and the military-industrial complex. Kamala Harris is for herself. I don't know what the hell Lori Lightfoot is for, in all honesty. I'm going to keep it 100%. Lori Lightfoot, I don't see her being a multiple time elected mayor of Chicago. I can't see that. Maybe she'll win if nobody strong runs against her, but if she gets any real challenge, she's gone.